I'm Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the new moon in Libra coming up on the 8th or the 9th, depending on where you live in the world, and the other astrological developments for the first half of October. So one of the important things about October is we're actually starting to see the separation of that square that has been so dominant through the last few months since May of Mars square Uranus. Mars has almost been in a holding pattern since it came into that square in mid-May, and because it was retrograde for 2 months, and I think it's been pretty clear in terms of correlations to extreme earth and weather events that we've seen over the last few months. Now, although Mars is moving on now, and in fact is accelerating, is gaining speed, and will move right to the end of Pisces by the end of the year, remember that we still have Uranus in Taurus. It will stay in Taurus apart from a short dart back into the late degrees of Aries from this November till next March. It will then re-enter Taurus and stay there until 2026. And that symbolism alone, Uranus in Taurus, is descriptive of extreme earth events, weather, volcanoes, earthquakes, strong winds, hurricanes, etc. So we should be well aware of those changes happening in the earth, and the more we can do, I personally feel, to heal the earth, the better. Another change from recent months is that we now have many more planets moving direct, moving forwards. In fact, we only have Uranus and Neptune moving retrograde, Pluto moves direct on the 2nd, and Venus moves retrograde to join Uranus and Neptune on the 5th, which I'll talk about in a moment. But when Pluto is really grinding to a halt in early October, it barely moves for about 8 or 9 days. It's exactly on the same degree and minute at 18:45 of Capricorn. It's almost like a huge tanker that is just kind of drilling down to the same spot. And whenever a planet becomes stationary before it changes direction, in this case it's going stationary direct, then its symbolism is amplified. So again, the few days to either side of the 2nd of October, we may well see assertions of power or abuse of power happening in the world with leaders. We need to be aware of that. But Venus then moves retrograde on the 5th. It moves retrograde at 11 degrees of Scorpio, and it moves back to 25 degrees of Libra by the 16th of November. Now, it does this every 18 months. It goes retrograde every 18 months for 40 to 43 days. So this last happened in October 2010. So see where the early degrees of Scorpio, late degrees of Libra are falling in your chart. And if you don't know, get this link above. You can download a free birth chart from my website. And if you get these tutorial videos, that will explain to you how you find these positions in your chart that I'm talking about at every update. Because if you go back to 2010, try and remember for you what was happening then. And the house position where late Libra, early Scorpio falls for you will help to trigger your memory. Because whether it's in 2010 or this time around, if it's falling in your relationship houses, those are the 1st, 5th, 7th and 11th houses, it is more likely to bring up a relationship issue. And remember, Venus is the planet of love, relationships, also finance, also money. It's also what we value. And I'll come back to that in a moment. If it's falling in your 2nd or 8th houses, it may be more of a financial issue that was happening then, and there may be some echo of that happening this time around now. So it's very helpful to see where this is falling, because you can start to anticipate how it may manifest, but it also gives you perspective on what's happening. The wonderful thing, many wonderful things about astrology, but one of them is that you can start to be the witness. You can start to step back and be the observer on what's unfolding in your life astrologically. It's really tremendous for that. So Venus is what we value, and you may find that you are going back over, that's the re in retrograde, going back over either what you value in relationships, what you value financially and materially, or your values in general may be up for reassessment, and it's a really good time to do that. You may find that your partner changes their view about the relationship. You may change your view, but it may be wise just to wait until you get to the end of the retrograde on the 16th of November, because you may change again as Venus comes out of the retrograde. But particularly, as I say, if it falls in the relationship houses, that may raise issues around relationship. But be aware of values, really sort of think bigger about this. Be aware of self-value. This is a terrific time for self-love during this retrograde period. If you have your sun, your moon, or your ascendant in Taurus or Libra, you will tend to feel this more because those are both signs ruled by Venus. It's very interesting in October. It's a very Venusian month because not only do we have our new moon in Libra that I'm about to talk about, but later in the month we have a full moon in Taurus, both ruled by Venus. So there could be a lot happening in the relationship area for you this month. So we have our new moon at 15:43 of Libra. This happens on the 8th of October. It happens at 8:46 p.m. Pacific and 4:46 a.m. UK time the next day on the 9th. Now, normally we have the sun and moon, which you always have together at a new moon. Normally, Libra energy is to do with harmony, to do with peace, to do with balance and cooperation and fairness, and it always tries to keep everything nice. It smooths things over. It smooths over any kind of intense or messy or ugly emotion to keep everything nice. But we have Pluto at 18:46 of Capricorn. It's only moved forward 1 minute, so it's still really drilling down on that stationary point, square to the sun and moon. So this is a very different energy. This brings up a great deal of intensity. It could bring in issues of power play or control or manipulation or jealousy or possessiveness into a relationship, whereas Libra wants to do the opposite. It wants to just keep everything balanced and nice. But emphasizing that intensity message, we have Venus in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto. That adds to the intensity. But on the other hand, we have a clear polarity happening here, because on the other hand, Venus is square to Mars in Aquarius, the sign of freedom and independence. And Venus is also opposing Uranus, opposing it widely, it has to be said, but opposing Uranus, the planet of freedom and independence. So here we have a very clear polarity of themes about, on the one hand, control, dominance, possessiveness, and on the other, freedom and independence, with the Libran new moon trying to smooth everything out, and with Venus retrograde at this time as well. That will make the picture even more complicated. So there's likely to be a lot happening in that area, particularly if this new moon at 15 of Libra is falling in those relationship houses, 1st, 5th, 7th, or 11th, or Venus retrograde, as I mentioned, is falling in those areas too. So just observe, as I said, just try not to act too impetuously and impulsively, but be aware of these different energies pulling in different ways. Now, a new moon is always a new beginning, and this may be a particularly strong new beginning because at this new moon we have 5 planets in cardinal signs. We have the Sun, Moon, Mercury in Libra, and we have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. Now, cardinal signs, cardinal energy is entrepreneurial. It wants to get things started, wants to get things going. So particularly because it's a new moon, it could be a really strong one for you. So always remember, at a new moon, it's a great opportunity to set a new intention for what you want to manifest this time around. So see where 15 of Libra falls for you, see which house area it falls, and that will help to determine the kind of intention you set. Is it falling in your 11th house? You want to revive your social network, your social life in some way. Is it falling in your 10th house? You're setting a new intention for your career in some way. Seeing where it falls will help you to form and word that intention. So very positive from that point of view. What will help the intensity a little bit at this time is Venus is in a beautiful trine to Neptune. Now this is a much gentler, finer energy. This is about tuning in to beauty, tuning in to aesthetics, and feeling at one with source, feeling at one with nature. It's about a very fine perception creatively and spiritually. So if you can use it in that way of a tuning in ability and a softening of all the intensity that might be happening at that time, and it may stimulate your creativity a great deal, it will be a wonderful use of that trine. We also have another ongoing trine between Saturn and Uranus. Saturn's at 3 of Capricorn, Uranus is at 1 of Taurus. And we've had this for a little while now, but it really is an excellent aspect for any new ideas, Uranus, any insights, any downloads that you have, any innovation of any kind, to not only become manifest, Saturn in Capricorn, but to be established for the long term. So they won't just be kind of pie in the sky, they will become grounded and established for you, which is really positive. Now, Uranus is also squaring the transiting nodal axis. It's been doing that for a while, and it will continue really to do that till the end of the year, even though the nodes are changing signs next month. It's a very big month next month. Jupiter's changing signs, the nodes are changing signs. But because Uranus is also backing up into late Aries again, that square with the transiting nodal axis will continue pretty much till the end of the year. So the transiting nodal axis is about our collective destiny, where we're headed. And Uranus in square to that can be very positive in terms of bringing up quantum jumps with technological innovation, with new ideas, and I think we're just seeing many of those in many areas, medical, environmental, to clean up our earth, often developed by young people. That's Uranus too. But equally, it's a little bit of an echo, this of Uranus in Taurus as well, in that it can bring up some sudden shocks and surprises and extreme events in the collective, be they environmental, be they earth-based, or they can be political as well. We're seeing them manifest in the collective in some way. But if you have any planets in sort of 0 to 3 of the fixed signs, those are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you may be really feeling this. I mean, Uranus is sitting at that point for a little while, and until the end of the year, and you will feel probably a restlessness, a desire for freedom, a desire to kind of shake things up. If anything has got stale in your life, a bit routine and deadening, Uranus will come in to really break it up and bring new life, bring awareness and awakening and new vigour into that area. Now that can be true of the area where those early degrees of Taurus is falling, where transiting Uranus is right now. But if it's aspecting a particular planet in your chart, that planet becomes stirred up as well by this very hibration Uranus energy. So there's a lot going on this month, and as I say, our Venusian theme continues into the second half, which I'll be talking about in the next video. But really, if you'd like more information about my books, my tutorial videos, my ever so long monthly newsletter. You can subscribe to that on any page of my website, and it's only £1 a month or about $1 a month for between 6,000 and 7,000 words each month. So there's a lot in it. And what I try and do there is tie in various global events to what's manifesting in the world. So if we're anticipating what's coming up in the videos and the newsletter, the next time around I can see what's actually manifesting in the world and share it with you. And it's a great way to learn astrology and the symbolism too. So I hope you have a wonderful new moon in Libra. Don't forget to set your new intention, and thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.